सर अब स्टार्ट करते हैं। 45 पीपल आर वेटिंग। ठीक है।
What do you mean by waiting?
उनको एडमिट कर लो।
परफेक्ट
हाँ,
जी
admit कर ले बिल्कुल।
सर से पूछें। सर इसके फौरन बाद आई हैव दिस डिनर फॉर द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन।
अरे हाफिज से कहिएगा मुझसे बात तो करें, कहाँ आते हैं और पता भी नहीं चलता।
आज ही अभी तो आज जूम पे उनसे मीटिंग है 9 बजे, यहीं से करूंगी, वो भी खाने के बीच में से। जी
मिस आयशा एंड फसी साहब एंड नजर साहब, participants have joined us. Miss Aisha, I would like to request you to please.
जी ओके। Hello, Assalamu alaikum everyone. It's Aisha Bela Malik from IBA and I am going to moderate today's session. आप सबके लिए ये जो हमारा एक डिप्लोमा कोर्स है इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ बिजनेस एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की तरफ से इंडस्ट्रियल एंड एम्प्लॉयमेंट लॉज का, मेरे साथ फसी साहब हैं और नज़र साहब हैं इस वक्त। और हम सब का एक डिलेमा है ख़ास तौर पे पाकिस्तान में कि हम नौकरी तो शुरू कर देते हैं लेकिन हमें एम्प्लॉयमेंट लॉज पता ही नहीं होते कि हमारे हकूक़ क्या हैं या हमारे फ़राइज़ क्या हैं और इसको हम कैसे इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं। इसी पे हमने ये एक डिप्लोमा कोर्स जो फेडरेशन एम्प्लॉयज़ फेडरेशन ने शुरू करवाया था आईबीए में, जिसका ये तीसरा बैच होने जा रहा है। और मैं इसमें बिजनेस कम्युनिकेशन पढ़ाती हूँ। संडेज और सैटरडेज को ये कोर्स पढ़ाया जाता है एग्जीक्यूटिव्स के लिए। तो ये इसका बैकग्राउंड है। थैंक्स टू अब्दुल रहमान फॉर गिविंग अस दिस चांस टू टॉक ऑन एयर अबाउट दिस डिप्लोमा कोर्स। आज का पहला सवाल मैं फसी साहब से लूँगी बिकॉज ही वाज द वन इनिशिएटर जिनका ये थॉट था और जिन्होंने ये शुरू करवाया। बहुत से लोग इससे मुस्तफ़ेद हो चुके हैं। फसी साहब अगर आप थोड़ा सा इसका बैकग्राउंड बता दें हमें। हेलो फसी साहब, आपको मेरी आवाज़ आ रही है? नज़र साहब भी हमारे साथ होते हैं जब जब फसी साहब बताते हैं। आई थिंक देयर इज़ अ कनेक्शन प्रॉब्लम। नज़र साहब अगर मैं आपसे पूछूं, क्योंकि जब मैं पहली दफ़ा ऑडिटोरियम में बैठी थी कोर्स पढ़ाने के लिए, फसी साहब ने एक बहुत ही अच्छी बात की थी। ही गेव एन इंसिडेंट कि किस तरह से उनके रिलेटिव में गर्ल वाज demoted and she came to Fasi Saab and he said the law is against that and your boss cannot do it. तो बच्ची को पता ही नहीं था कि उनके राइट्स क्या हैं एज एन एम्प्लॉय, जिसके बाद फिर बहुत से बच्चों ने हमें ज्वाइन किया था जब हमने एंड बड़ों ने। इट्स अ कोर्स फॉर एग्जीक्यूटिव्स। ईच वन ऑफ अस इंक्लूडिंग मी, we need to know our rights and our of course responsibilities और ये बहुत मदद करता है कोर्स। नज़र साहब अगर आप इस पे थोड़ी सी रोशनी डालें।
जी अपना बेला व्हाट यू हैव सेड इट्स राइटली, बिल्कुल आपने सही कहा। इट इज वेरी अनफॉर्चुनेट कि इन अवर सोसाइटी या हमारे सिस्टम के अंदर वी स्टार्ट अवर जॉब्स, अपनी जॉब स्टार्ट कर देते हैं, चाहे वो मैनेजमेंट लेवल पे हो चाहे वो वर्कर्स लेवल पे हो, बट मेजॉरिटी ऑफ अस डोंट नो द आवर रिस्पांसिबिलिटीज एंड ऑब्लिगेशन. Business doesn't know the obligation, and the worker doesn't know their rights. So these labor laws, basically when we talk about the labor laws and the employment laws, so they are basically the backbone of the labor management systems, and it provides the best relationship between the business and the employees. So कहते हैं ना कि the labor laws are important, basically they are important to have a harmonious industrial relation systems based on respecting the rights and responsibility of both the partners, and also to ensure protection and fulfillment of obligations, जो कि बहुत जरूरी होता है किसी भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में कि एक स्मूथ ऑपरेशन के लिए as well as for its development. तो इसके लिए जरूरी है कि
Yes.
कहते हैं ना कि managers are the main people who can break the organization or who can make the organizations.
Yes, very true.
If they don't have the knowledge of the labor laws and the employment laws, and they are carrying out with their misconceived ideas, with the policies and the program, that create dismotivations, that create, poor working conditions, unproductive working conditions, and then this is the way how they can lose so many things which they never observe, which they never realize. और normally मैं एक चीज सिर्फ यहाँ पे कहूँगा, एक चीज यहाँ पे सिर्फ मैं ऐड करना चाहूँगा यहाँ पे, क्योंकि we don't, हमारे यहाँ इस एरिया में रिसर्च बहुत कम हुई है. We don't have the cost benefit analysis of the compliances as well as the benefit. तो ये बहुत important area है.
Perfect. जी सर, मेरे पास सवाल हैं बहुत सारे, और ऑब्वियसली आज का ये सेशन इज टू अंडरस्टैंड ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट इन इंडस्ट्रियल रिलेशंस एंड लॉज. सर, व्हाट इज द रोल ऑफ द HR IR मैनेजर्स एंड ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस जो बेस्ड हैं HR और IR पे? बहुत सारे लोगों के मैं नाम पढ़ी हूँ.
देखिए जी, मेरा ख्याल मुझे फसी भाई नजर आ रहे हैं. अगर फसी भाई इस पे पहले कमेंट्स करना चाहें तो फसी भाई.
सर, फसी साहब, आपसे मैं सवाल करूंगी कि जो वी आर राइट नाउ हैविंग दिस वेबिनार फॉर अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट लॉज एंड इंडस्ट्रियल रिलेशंस, व्हाट इज द रोल ऑफ HR IR मैनेजर्स इन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस in this regard?
Thank you, Aisha. At the first point, we must understand that HR is primarily involved in building the environment in which workers and employers can understand their rights at work and can work with satisfaction so that the levels of efficiency and productivity can be achieved. HR managers have a role. HR managers have a role to maximize the potential of their people to contribute to the efficiency of the organization. Now, what is that point? What is that inspiration? What is that stimulus which can inspire the employees to be able to motivate themselves to work more, to devote more, to commit more? The most important thing is their rights. The most important thing is the respect for their rights. और हमारे जो HR मैनेजर्स हैं, वो जो स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट है वो ही हम इग्नोर कर देते हैं.
बिल्कुल सही.
हम लग जाते हैं ट्रेडिशनल फंक्शन ऑफ HR. We have to go for job analysis, no problem. We have to go for that. Recruitment, selection, compensation management, training, industrial. Yes, fine.
Yeah.
लेकिन starting point is है ना कि are you aware of the rights of people whom you are optimizing for their potential? Are people aware of their rights? And who will make them aware of this right? The labor laws, the employment laws, because they are the fundamental pillars on which the rights at work are being built up.
Yes, I would request all the listeners, please put your mics on mute because फसी साहब और नज़र साहब बड़ी important बात कर रहे हैं. सर, हमारे यहाँ कंपनीज में वर्क एथिक्स नहीं होते, ख़ास तौर पे जो पाकिस्तानी कल्चर है इसमें एक जो कंपटीशन है. I would request everybody to please put your phones on silent, mic को अपने साइलेंट पे लगा दें ताकि आप गौर से ये बात सुन सकें जो हमारे स्पीकर्स कर रहे हैं. सर, जो HR की आपने बात की इसमें बिल्कुल सही है कि हमें बेसिक्स ही नहीं पता होते. वर्क एथिक्स कंपनी भी फॉलो नहीं करी होती कि एम्प्लॉय के राइट्स क्या हैं. हमसे ये एक एक्सपेक्टेशन है कि हम वीकेंड पे भी काम करें, सुबह को भी करें, रात को भी करें, ऐसे कि जैसे खरीद लिया. तो ये इस डिप्लोमा कोर्स का फ़ायदा किस तरह से होगा हमारे उन अटेंडीज़ को जो इसको आके ज्वाइन करें? हाउ टू दे कैन मेक देयर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस वर्क बेटर इन HR और IR इन द मैनेजमेंट?
देखिए, बिफोर वी टॉक ऑफ द डिप्लोमा कोर्स, there are three fundamental requirements which have to be understood very clearly by the HR managers. Number one, what is their attitude towards the law, the
Yeah.
attitude of avoidance or attitude of
Hmm.
compliance. Unfortunately,
Very
our
true.
attitude towards law is that of avoidance. And because of this
Hmm.
attitude, we fundamentally fail in providing that
Hmm.
very basic climate in which a work
Hmm.
can be performed efficiently. So attitude of
Yes.
compliance has to be infused as a
Hmm.
prerequisite
Hmm.
for industrial productivity and employee engagement. Number one, this is a must. Number two,
Perfect.
understanding of the law is important. Now,
Hmm.
unfortunately, none of the business schools in their curriculum have
Hmm.
labor laws as one of the devoted subjects. Now, when these
Yes.
HR managers do their MBAs and join
Hmm.
an organization as an HR manager, they find
Hmm.
themselves in a very different situation when they get across the labor laws. ये क्या होता है?
Yeah.
So they are
Ji.
dependent on the lawyers, they are dependent
Ji.
on the legal companies, and because they themselves are not aware of the law, they are very easily being exploited by the workers, by the
Yes.
workers union, by the
Hmm.
workers groups, by the workers interests. So this is the
Yes.
second thing, that they don't know the law and they don't learn the law, and business schools don't teach the law. The
Yeah.
third very important thing is knowing the law is not all that is important. Implementing and executing the law is important. So,
Yes.
who is responsible for executing the law? The HR managers.
Hmm.
And when they are
Exactly.
not,
Yeah.
when they do not know as to what the law is, what will they execute? So, these are the three fundamental requirements: an attitude of compliance, an understanding and knowledge of law, and the
Hmm.
execution and implementation of law. And all these three things need a very strong background, which the diploma course in labor laws, which we have introduced and pioneered in
Hmm.
IBA, is going to provide as a fundamental foundation to
Hmm.
strengthen professional standing.
सर जो मैं आपकी बात से अब हम नज़र साहब की तरफ आएंगे बहुत शुक्रिया आपने बड़ा क्लियरली हमें ये जवाब दिया नज़र साहब जो मैं बात समझी हूँ कि इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ कंप्लायंस ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट लॉज इन पाकिस्तान एंड द लैक ऑफ नोइंग ऑफ लेबर लॉज इवन इन द ओनर्स जो फैक्ट्री या सेठ रन कंपनीज हैं वहाँ ओनर्स को भी नहीं पता कि लेबर लॉज क्या है वो ब्लैकमेल होते रहते हैं अपने लेबर यूनियन से या वर्कर्स के साथ तो इसका मतलब ये कोर्स और जो importance of compliance, it is important for leaders also who are running their businesses and running their own teams here,
You
right?
very rightly you pointed out these things. I normally
Ji.
say is basically, unless we become a compliant nation, the
Ji.
compliance of labor laws will not happen.
Yeah.
Look, as a nation, we are a non-compliant. Whether it's
Yeah,
a traffic
beautiful.
legislation, whether it's the income tax
Yes.
legislation, if we are
Very
not
true.
compliant nation, how we can expect
Yes.
that we will be complying the labor legislation at the workplace? Number one. Number two,
Ji.
the most important point is, in majority of the cases, our HR managers are working in a Pakistani set mentality companies.
Ji, exactly.
Okay,
81%.
and then they become more loyal to the employer rather than a bridge between the employers and the workers. So
Yes.
even if they like to comply the law, the set mentality basically don't allow them to do it in a way. They want to create a culture of avoidance, which Fasi Saab has very rightly pointed out. So
Ji.
it is very important that we need to sensitize not only, to the community and the overall state people at the highest level, and
Yeah.
that can only happen if we are able to show them how this compliance culture is going to promote productivity and increase their profit. As I
Yes.
previously pointed out, कि क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ रिसर्च का काम बहुत कम है इस एरिया में, and we have not
जी.
been able to calculate the cost benefit analysis of the compliances.
जी.
At Employers Federation of Pakistan, we are basically with creating and promoting a culture of compliance as a tool to
Perfect.
productivity.
Yeah.
So it is very important that the HR managers and their senior, the director, the state themselves should understand what is the benefit of labor laws.
Ji, sir, we very rightly said that compliance is vanished from all over Pakistan in every department, and that's sad. उसको we are thankful to Employees Federation कि आपने ये introduce कराया. Labor laws तो हमें भी नहीं पता होते कि क्या है. जब नौकरी हम शुरू भी करते हैं, मास्टर्स भी करते हैं, हार्वर्ड भी चले जाते हैं, मगर लेबर लॉस पे कोई बात नहीं करता. How to examine and evaluate the employment and labor laws के एक इदारे में किस हद तक इन पे काम हो रहा है? How can we evaluate when we look at an organization?
देखिए, एम्प्लॉयर्स फेडरेशन ने और फसी साहब की सरबराही में एम्प्लॉयर्स फेडरेशन हैज डेवलप्ड अ कंप्लीट लेबर लॉस ऑडिट सिस्टम, and that system is so simple that we can prepare the employers and the management to assess where they stand in respect to the compliance of the labor. And the Fasi Sahab will be in a better position because he is the author of that compliance audit कि इसके ऊपर वो और ज़्यादा highlight कर सकें.
जी.
ऐसा एक्चुअली ऑडिट से ज़्यादा मेजरमेंट में जो बात ज़रूरी है समझने की वो ये है कि organizations which have a compliant culture have better productivity, better profitability and better sustainability than organizations which do not have a compliance culture. पहला measurement तो ये है. As for example, I give you an example. Why are the multinational companies normally growing better than a state organization? Primarily because there is a compliant culture and their principals insist that the laws should be followed and there should be a compliant culture. Foreign brands insist on a compliant culture. What does that indicate? That means they have more acceptability by the consumers, they have more acceptability by the customers, they have more acceptability by the buyers, and they have more acceptability by the society. They have more acceptability by the job seekers. So पहला measurement ये है कि a compliant organization is more sustainable than a state organization. Now, what is the average life of a state organization in Pakistan? Not more than 8 to 10 years. They don't survive. And why they don't survive? Because they have nothing to sustain. And labor law is one such measurement which can measure the sustainability of an organization. Audit is the second, audit is secondary. Audit tells you what is the level of compliance. And that is what Nazar was mentioning, that Employers Federation of Pakistan, through its audit program, is conducting an audit to tell an organization what is the gap between what they have now and what they should have. And this gap analysis helps organization to meet the compliant phenomenon. So my point in measurement is that are you compliant with standards, labor standards, national labor standards, international labor standards, social standards? You have to be measured against the criteria of compliance with the standards in law and particularly the local laws and the national laws and the International Labour Convention.
सर इस पे एक सवाल है कि जो अभी आप बात कर रहे थे, जो लेबर लॉ ऑडिट सिस्टम है ये हर इदारे में नहीं है, तो हाउ कैन वी लाइक इम्प्लीमेंट दैट इन पाकिस्तान में 81% जो इदारे हैं दे आर स्मॉल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, 80% से ऊपर. तो हाउ कैन वी एक्चुअली इम्प्लीमेंट लेबर लॉ ऑडिट सिस्टम इन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हियर इन पाकिस्तान? नजर सकते हैं, फसी साहब भी दे सकते हैं. ये एक सवाल हमारे पास आते जा रहे हैं, हम उसको उसके बाद. हेलो,
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question.
Sir, my question is that labor हमारा जो 81% है, 80% से ज़्यादा और इदारे हैं, organizations हैं, उनमें labor law audit system नहीं है कोई. तो उसको हम कैसे implement कर सकते हैं अपने इदारों में? ये किस तरह से हमारे मुल्क की कारोबार और organizations, चाहे वो public sector हो या private sector हो, उनका हिस्सा कैसे बन सकता है? How to implement the
देखिए मैं इसमें एक चीज तो जो आपने I mean it's more than 80% is the informal sector where laws doesn't apply. As a matter of fact, they are not taking care of the laws. Then now rest of the people जो कि हमारा formalized
Yes.
sector है, हमारा even in that formalized sectors, if you say it's a very few percentage of there is a compliant organization.
जी.
And as we discussed, there is no audit system.
Yes.
In the government, there is inspection systems. And it is the responsibility of the government machinery, the inspection system, to ensure that the labor laws are being implemented in the organizations.
Perfect.
Okay.
It is the government's.
It's a responsibility of the government. You know, I mean, we have ratified the convention. If you have ratified the convention, then it's obliged the organization, the government of Pakistan, to draft a legislation, to make enactment the legislation for the implementation of those conventions, and then at the same time to put in place the institutional mechanism and the machinery to ensure that the law which has been formulated, that are being implemented. But unfortunately, the inspection system what we are having is based on fault finding and punishment.
Yes.
Rather than it should be based on the basis of that, on persuasion, improvement, motivation. Unless we have this balanced inspection systems which provide guidance to the organizations, allow time to them for improvement, and then to work. Unfortunately, this corrupt machinery जो है हमारी, जो हमारा system है, that doesn't allow for make any improvement, but that create practices which are against the, I mean, that is negative to the compliance area.
Yeah. But I think knowing is the first step कि at least हमें पता तो हो कि labor laws और जो हमारा employment laws हैं वो हैं क्या. That is the
Yes,
first
of
step.
course, that's it. But again, as Fasi Saab has very rightly pointed out, first thing you know it, but in some cases, even you know it, you are not in a position to implement it. So you need to work on a mechanism, first of all, to create awareness, create understanding, and that is the program which we have started. That is the program, I mean, to give the understanding, the experience, the good practices, and then to create a culture for compliances.
Yes.
I mean, the government machinery should work in a way that it should promote compliances.
जी सर, हमारे पास बहुत सारे सवाल आ रहे हैं. मेरे भी एक दो सवाल हैं, उसके बाद शुड वी मूव टू द क्वेश्चंस. वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. मैं एक सवाल पूछूंगी फसी साहब से कि सर हाउ टू आइडेंटिफाई गैप्स इन कंप्लायंस विद लेबर लॉज एंड हेल्प प्रिपेयर देम फॉर लेबर इंस्पेक्शन.
देखिए, one of the things that the diploma program will equip the candidates or the participants will be, number one, to know what are the legal requirements. Once they know what are the legal requirements, there are, and it should not be a surprise that there are 258 laws which govern industrial sectors. Now, after the devolution of labor to the provinces are making their own laws. Now, the first thing is to know what are the laws, what are the legal requirements. Employment laws. देखिए, लॉ को आप 6 कैटेगरी में डिवाइड करते हो. इसी तरह हमने इस कोर्स में भी किया हुआ है. एम्प्लॉयमेंट लॉज, working conditions law, wage laws, industrial relations law, welfare law, and HRD laws. Now, when you know what are the legal requirements, then you are in a position to do your own audit. What are the gaps? What does the law require you to do? And what is it that you are practicing or doing? And this program will enable the participants then to identify their own gaps in the first place. And once they know what is the gap between what they practice and what the law is, this is what an auditor is normally supposed to do.
जी. दिस इज एक्सीलेंट. इसका मतलब इस डिप्लोमा कोर्स से हमें इंस्टेंटली पता चलने लगेगा कि व्हाट आर द गैप्स इन द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन वी आर हैविंग. जी सर, बड़े नॉर्मल मतलब क्लोज टू लाइफ सवाल आ रहे हैं. मैं आपसे पहला सवाल ये पूछूंगी जो कि हमारे पास है. काइंडली ये अशफाक साहब ने सवाल पूछा है. लेट मी नो फॉर हाउ मेनी डेज gratuity will be paid as per law 21 or 30 days on completion of 1 year.
It is 30 days.
30 days.
It is
30 days for
30
every
days.
for every completed year of service.
जी, okay. It is 30
And
days,
it's
Ashfaq
never
साहब.
21 days.
Okay, it is never 21 days. अच्छा जी, ये यासिर साहब का सवाल है. It has been observed that in organizations where there is a labor union, especially in public sector organizations, performance of workers is not up to the mark. Whenever they are asked to improve their performance, they take the shield of labor union. How to handle that? ये यासिर साहब का सवाल है सर.
देखें,
वो इदारा-
industrial relations is the art of bringing the employers and workers together to work hand in hand for the organization. One of the, there are two subjects which we have chosen in the diploma program, which relates to managing industrial and employee relations. And this is a practical program in which we teach students how to handle people, how to handle grievances, how to handle problem employees, how to handle difficult situations, how to manage difficult times, how to go through turbulent times. Now, this is basically a practical skill which employees have to develop. अब जिस बात की तरफ इन्होंने इशारा किया है, public sector organizations have unfortunately a poor working culture.
जी,
In
very
which
very true.
the atmosphere is built to promote non-work rather than work. तो इसमें सबसे बड़ा रोल तो HR मैनेजर का है ना, कि इस कल्चर को कैसे तब्दील करें. और कल्चरल चेंज इज अ डिफिकल्ट चेंज. बट आपने जहाँ इसका कहा वहाँ और भी तो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है. व्हाट अबाउट नादरा? जाके देखिए आज नादरा में
जी,
पासपोर्ट ऑफिस में जाइए, वो भी तो पब्लिक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, वहां भी यूनियन है, लेकिन द वर्क इज नॉट सफरिंग. तो इसलिए ये कहना कि पब्लिक सेक्टर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में यूनियन की वजह से काम नहीं होता मे नॉट बी ए वेरी ट्रू प्रोपोजिशन. असल मसला ये है कि यूनियन को मैनेज करना, यूनियन को हैंडल करना, डिफिकल्ट सिचुएशन को हैंडल करना, ट्रस्ट पैदा करना और काम की तरफ एक माहौल पैदा करना जिस पर काम हो सके, ये वो चैलेंज है जो एचआर मैनेजर्स और आईआर मैनेजर्स को पूरी तरीके से निभाना है.
बिल्कुल सही.
I would like to add one thing only. I would like to one thing add only one thing. I mean हमारा ये perception ही गलत है. जहाँ पे यूनियन है वहाँ पे काम नहीं होगा. Very recently last year a survey has been conducted by the ILO and that has demonstrated जहाँ पे unions हैं उनकी productivity was much higher than those organizations जहाँ पे union नहीं थी. Because it's easier to communicate with union rather than communicating the individual workers. So इस perception को जिस तरह फसी भाई ने बड़ा rightly कहा, गवर्नमेंट का कल्चर ही अलग है पब्लिक सेक्टर का. अगर हमें एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन 200 लोगों से चलानी और 1000 लोग रख लेंगे तो फिर काम की प्रॉब्लम आएगी. कौन काम करे कौन ना करे.
जी बिल्कुल सही, बिल्कुल सही. अच्छा सर, ये यासिर साहब का सवाल मेरा ख्याल है बहुत राइटली आंसर हो गया है कि इसकी ये ज़रूरी नहीं है कि जहाँ हमारे पास यूनियंस हों वहाँ पे वी आर फेसिंग प्रॉब्लम्स, वहाँ भी काम अच्छे से हो सकता है. बाहर वी हैव दैट. अच्छा, मैं अगला सवाल पूछूंगी. ये सवाल हमसे एक खातून की तरफ से है अबाउट द मैटरनिटी लीव, दैट हाउ मेनी डेज, क्योंकि हर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन पाकिस्तान में अलग होता है. इस पर आप रोशनी डाल सकें कि लेबर लॉ कितना होता है मैटरनिटी लीव?
देखिए, मैटरनिटी एक्ट जो सिंध में इम्प्लीमेंट किया गया है 2017 में, बल्कि 2019 में, उसके तहत नंबर ऑफ मैटरनिटी लीव हैज बीन इंक्रीज टू 16 वीक्स, जबकि बाकी सूबों में इट इज 12 वीक्स. 6 weeks before and 6 weeks after the delivery.
Okay, what about the spouse? How many days they can get off when the wife or the spouse is having a child? Maternity protection के बारे में भी एक सवाल है. नजर साहब, फसी साहब, आप can you?
फसी साहब ने इसमें, I mean I think फसी साहब has already cleared it कि 16 weeks holidays.
वो तो खातून के लिए, but अगर जी, जो तो खातून के लिए, but if the wife is the employee and the husband not the employee and the husband needs an off, वो क्या उनके लिए कोई छुट्टी की
Allowed नहीं
गुंजाइश
है।
होती है कि ही can't?
हमारे लॉ
Maternity
में स्पाउस के लिए अब तक छुट्टी अलाउड नहीं है।
पैटर्निटी लीव हमारे यहाँ अलाउ नहीं है अभी तक।
हाउस के लिए अलाउड नहीं, ठीक है। अच्छा जी, मैटरनिटी प्रोटेक्शन के बारे में सवाल है।
जी बोले।
हेलो हेलो, मैटरनिटी
जी आयशा,
प्रोटेक्शन के बारे में एक सवाल है।
जी बताइए।
जी सर, आपको आवाज आ रही है? मैटरनिटी प्रोटेक्शन, इसको अगर लॉज में पढ़ा जाए, सिर्फ यही कहा है मैटरनिटी प्रोटेक्शन इन क्वेश्चन मार्क।
I mean, it's not a complete question.
नहीं there
हम
is a law
अगले
of it
सवाल
ना,
का आवाज
maternity
आ
law
benefit
है।
act है हमारे पास।
वो लॉ है एक प्रोटेक्शन का, अब उसमें
या
कोई
इट्स नॉट अ
स्पेसिफिक
कंप्लीट क्वेश्चन।
We have maternity benefit act
जी, उन्होंने कोई स्पेसिफिक चीज नहीं पूछी।
2019
एग्जैक्टली।
जी
आई मीन मोस्ट प्रॉब्ली फसी भाई, ये दे वांट टू, जो मैटरनिटी प्रोटेक्शन लॉ है हमारा, उसके सेलिंग फीचर्स जो हैं, मैं मोस्ट प्रॉब्ली दे आर थिंकिंग टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट।
नहीं, maternity benefit act in Sindh is more progressive than the maternity benefit act which is in other provinces, and the application of maternity benefit act in Sindh has been made to every organization, irrespective of whether it is an industrial organization or a commercial organization or an office, does not matter. So it has been given a wide coverage, and it has been given a special, it has given special incentives to female workers in case of not only delivery, but also in case of like abortion. Previously there was not a specific law on it, but now they have a specific law that in that case also they get a special leave. So there are adequate protection provided to them under the law in Sindh, and surely the maternity protection law in other 3 provinces also provide. But if there is any specific query that anybody wants to ask, I may answer them.
Ms. Aisha Bela has probably disconnected. I'd like to put forward a question that is being asked from Mr. Parvez Shahid, that he is asking that the tenure of office barrier is 2 years in a trade union. Is an employee contest the election who has 1 year of service remaining?
See, as long as he is an employee, he can contest the election. When he ceases to be employee, he has to resign.
Right. Another question is being asked. Sorry?
जी बोले.
What is the minimum wages salary as per law at present?
It is 17,500 in the province of Sindh.
All right. Okay. Okay, Fasi Saab, I'd like to ask another question from you, और नजर साहब भी उसको आंसर कर सकते हैं कि what is an effective industrial relation system? How would you define an effective industrial relation system?
See, an industrial relation system is a subsystem of human resource management. At the first place, it is a system of creating an industrial climate where employers and workers can find a conducive place to work. So an industrial relation system is the foundation on which the work structure is built in an organization. Okay, the employers and workers, being the joint partners of work, define their own SOPs as to what will regulate their relationship. The do's and don'ts are defined, and they start working to promote a culture in which the differences are resolved and
जी,
disputes are settled in an amicable manner. Normally,
okay,
an industrialization system is based on three premises: the
okay,
transparency of information, how much
जी,
transparent is the company in passing on information to each other, employer and worker, respect for each
जी,
other's right, and social dialogue. Deciding that everything they will
okay,
do will be decided through dialogue. So they say they will not go to courts, we will solve all of our problems by talking to each other. So industrial system encourages such a
perfect.
structure in which the industrial relations climate can be framed by the employers and workers themselves in a manner that is conducive to the productivity and efficiency of the organization.
Perfect. I'm very, very clear, sir. And Nazir साहब आपसे मेरा सवाल है कि how to better manage and monitor policy issues of an organization.
Well, policy issue, if you are talking about the labor-related policies, first
जी,
of all, the manager, the HR manager or IR manager, whoever is involved in the formulation of the policy, they must have a
जी,
very clear knowledge of regulation, rule, labor laws, both labor laws and employment laws, so that
जी,
instead of making a policies on a misconceived ideas, they should
जी,
prepare a policies on the basis of the laws available in that country, and then they have the capability of applying those policies and systems at a appropriate places and appropriate time.
okay.
So this is very important. First, the knowledge of the labor laws, and then that would be the basis for formulation of the policies.
Oh, okay, okay, excellent. So, sir, how to develop understanding and conducting collective bargaining negotiations between employers and trade unions?
See, collective bargaining actually is a right which is given to both employers and workers as a tool to be able to settle their differences and disputes.
Okay.
Now, collective bargaining is a negotiation, a mutual
Yeah.
negotiation between employers and workers to be able to come to a point where by give and take, they develop a good working relationship.
जी, जी.
That's all that collective bargaining is about. Now, you cannot bargain with an individual.
Yeah.
So, you have to bargain with a group. And which group could be most tenable for negotiation? A trade union. So, the trade union which has been identified and recognized as a collective bargaining agent through the legal process is the organization which is most authorized to represent workers and enter into negotiation with the management on their demands, on their working condition, on their terms and conditions. So collective bargaining is a tool of give and take, negotiation on give and take to the maximum benefit of both. Is there a management can also do collective bargaining? तो किससे करेगी? Union से कर सकती है.
जी,
Union
बिल्कुल सर.
management can also raise a charter of demand. Management can also raise issues of productivity and performance, can also
Yeah.
raise issues which are not guaranteed by law, and
Yeah.
ultimately they can come to a negotiation
Yeah.
and come to a settlement which is valid for a defined period of time, and during that time they commit themselves to certain norms which are defined in what you call an agreement or a settlement.
Yes, it's very clear from your point of view, sir. मैं नज़र साहब से यही सवाल करूँगी कि इसमें ये जो हमारा डिप्लोमा है IBA से, जो इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ बिजनेस एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन से हम दे रहे हैं आपके थ्रू, एम्प्लॉयज़ फेडरेशन के थ्रू, इसमें जो हमारे अटेंडीज़ हैं उनको कैसे ये फ़ायदा होगा टू डेवलप अंडरस्टैंडिंग इन कंडक्टिव collective bargaining negotiations between employers and trade unions?
देखिए
मैं
दो चीजें
ऐसा इसलिए
हैं.
बता दूं कि एक
जी,
सब्जेक्ट
जी.
डिवोट किया हुआ है इसी काम के लिए. मैनेजिंग
Excellent.
एम्प्लॉय एंड इंडस्ट्रियल
Agree.
रिलेशंस में हम कलेक्टिव बार्गेनिंग करवाते हैं क्लास में. We form teams
जबरदस्त.
of management and union. We ask them to raise
जी.
charter of demand. We train them how to raise a charter of demand, and then we engage
Excellent.
them in collective bargaining so that they learn the techniques. तो ये बिल्कुल प्रैक्टिकल लैब
Wow.
की तरह हम इस क्लास में ये
Hmm.
करवाते हैं कलेक्टिव.
It's a hands-on.
जी.
What you say, hands-on.
It's a hands-on. वही सर की बात है कि it's like a lab when the attendee is there, so they learn to do that
Exactly.
collective bargaining. It's excellent, sir. ये इसका फायदा ये है कि करना खुद सीखते हैं हमारे attendees ये सारी negotiations, क्योंकि negotiation की एक ट्रेनिंग अगर हार्वर्ड से या IBA expensive 2 days in key. I have seen even all the universities which are throwing. Sir, अगला सवाल मेरा ये है कि how to better equip HR and IR managers, operational managers and HR, IR professionals and practitioners with all the necessary tools and techniques for developing a better understanding of industrial relations, learn employment laws of Pakistan, its applicability at the workplace, its needs and implications. ये लंबा सवाल है, लेकिन ये सबसे
नहीं
इम्पोर्टेंट
आसान जवाब है, कानून को घोल के पिला दें.
पिला देना बस.
जी.
अब इसको घोल के पिलाने के तरीके होते हैं. आप किताब में पढ़ेंगे समझ नहीं आएगी.
जी,
तो
नींद आ
आप जब
जाएगी.
क्लासरूम के माहौल में आपको टीचर्स मुख्तलिफ सब्जेक्ट्स पे लॉ को एक्सप्लेन करते हैं तो आपके जहन में सवाल होते हैं वो भी साफ होते जाते हैं, उसका जवाब मिल जाता है. आपके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में उस कानून से जो इश्यूज पैदा होते हैं वो भी डिस्कस होते हैं. तो दिस इज व्हाई वी से दैट you need to enter into a practical environment in which issues can be brought forth and discussed. तो ये जो IR के लॉज और मसाइल को समझने के लिए आपको कोई प्लेटफॉर्म चाहिए. वो प्लेटफॉर्म अभी अवेलेबल नहीं है. HR managers are learning things by experience. They are learning by a process of trial and error. Or by the time they learn, it is too late. That is why the program we are offering is to equip them with the tools much ahead of their time, so that when they are confronted with such situation, they find themselves better equipped to handle them.
अच्छा, इसमें एक चीज और भी बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि since I mean some of the participants are those who are already working in I mean in the industry, in the companies, so they also share with their life, I mean their living issues in an actual environment. So I mean they can put on an issue, what the issue they are facing, and then practice is made on that. I mean sort of a workshop practice is made on that issue, how it could be resolved by other input of the other managers and the other people. So yeah, it's a very good game practice sort of a learning.
जी सर, बहुत सारे सवाल हैं वन बाय वन. ये मैं एक एक करके पूछती जाती हूँ. व्हाट अबाउट सपोर्ट ऑफ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन टुवर्ड्स डिफरेंटली एबल एम्प्लॉयज जो स्पेशल आई थिंक इनका.
देयर इज अ लॉ ऑन दिस सब्जेक्ट ऑलरेडी. बाकी 3 सूबों में जो लॉ है, इट इज डिफरेंटली एबल्ड रिहेबिलिटेशन एक्ट, जबकि सिंध में जो लॉ है वो स्लाइटली डिफरेंट है. Now you have to employ 2% of your workers from among the disabled who are registered in the employment exchange. And if you do not employ, then you are supposed to pay the equivalent amount of their wages to a fund which is established by the government, which is used for rehabilitation and employment and deployment of disabled persons.
Okay. Sir, एक और सवाल है, question for IBA representative. What about advanced IR diploma, when it will be held?
The advanced diploma will be started sometimes in November, December.
जी, आपका जवाब ये हमसे मरियम. अच्छा जी, नेक्स्ट है व्हाट अबाउट सपोर्ट ऑफ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन टू. ये तो हम पूछ चुके हैं. प्लीज एडवाइस, कैन वी लीगली एक्सटेंड द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ एम्प्लॉय प्रोबेशन ऑफ एम्प्लॉय? इफ यस, देन हाउ मेनी टाइम्स?
देखिए, वर्कर की प्रोबेशन को आप 90 दिन से एक दिन ज्यादा एक्सटेंड नहीं कर सकते. वर्कमैन, ठीक है, there is no way that you can extend the probation of a worker under the standing orders ordinance by a single day beyond 90 days. अब जो मैनेजमेंट एम्प्लॉई हैं जिनको आप मैनेजमेंट के तौर पे रखते हैं और जो मैनेजरियल जॉब उनका 50% से ज्यादा हो रहा है, वहां आपके पास लिबर्टी है, बिकॉज दे आर नॉट रेगुलेटेड बाय द लेबर लॉज।
जी नजर साहब, बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट सवाल है। इज देयर एनी लॉ? ये आज ही मैं इस्लामाबाद में एक बहुत बड़ी यूनिवर्सिटी है, नाम नहीं लूंगी, उनसे पूछी थी, बहुत से लोग इससे तंग होते हैं। इज देयर एनी लॉ फॉर कॉन्ट्रैक्चुअल एम्प्लॉइज इफ दे अप्रोच मैनेजमेंट एंड रिक्वेस्ट फॉर
Every labor law applies to contractual employee.
Exactly.
Every labor law.
ओके ओके, रिक्वेस्ट फॉर परमानेंट पोजीशन आफ्टर स्पेंडिंग से पूरा सवाल पढ़ देती हूँ। इज देयर एनी लॉ फॉर कॉन्ट्रैक्चुअल एम्प्लॉइज इफ दे अप्रोच मैनेजमेंट एंड रिक्वेस्ट फॉर परमानेंट पोजीशन आफ्टर स्पेंडिंग अ पर्टिकुलर ड्यूरेशन इन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, मे बी 5 years or 10 years?
देखिए, सबसे पहली बात तो ये कि कॉन्ट्रैक्चुअल एम्प्लॉई is working with a contractor. If he is working with a contractor who is an independent employer, and if he is working with that contractor for more than 3 months, he is permanent already. He gets the legal status of being a permanent employee. He doesn't have to ask for it. And if he is terminated, he has to get the benefit of a permanent employee. It's a question of perception.
Excellent.
एम्प्लॉय किसका है ये जरूरी है मालूम होना।
या दिस इज इम्पोर्टेंट कि एम्प्लॉय कॉन्ट्रैक्टर का परमानेंट होगा, नॉट विद दैट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन।
हाँ, लेकिन किसका एम्प्लॉय है भाई? अगर वो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर का एम्प्लॉय है तो उसी का परमानेंट होगा ना।
एग्जैक्टली, दिस इज यही एरिया जहाँ पे मिसकंसेप्शन सब लोग अंडरस्टैंड नहीं करते। दे फील्स के जी वो एम्प्लॉय उस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का होना चाहिए, व्हिच इज रॉन्ग। वो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर का एम्प्लॉय है और वही परमानेंट होगा फिर।
जी सर, which laws are applicable to senior management of a company which do not fall in labor class?
देखिए, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट जो है that is applicable to non-workers or management staff because labor laws don't cover them. So if there is a breach of contract, the employee can go to the civil court and claim damages. That is the remedy available.
और ये 3-4 लोगों ने पूछा है, परवेज, शाहिद, असदुल्ला खान, यही कि which laws are applicable, ये इनको जवाब मिल गया होगा। सर, some company didn't pay to labor fixed salary according government law. Define what will do with companies, what we can do with that company.
Sorry, what is the question?
Some company didn't pay to labor fixed salary according to government law. Probably कम होगी, तो उन्होंने कहा कि
you are talking about minimum wage, not paying the minimum wage.
Yeah, not paying the minimum wage.
देखिए, दो बात है इसके अंदर। जब आप फिक्स्ड वेज की बात कर रहे हैं तो लॉ डज नॉट रिक्वायर एम्प्लॉयर्स टू पे फिक्स्ड वेजेस। पहली बात, वेजेस हैव टू बी फिक्स्ड। जो फिक्स के माने ध्यान में क्या आता है? मंथली होना चाहिए। लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है, अगर एम्प्लॉय और एम्प्लॉयर में वेज डेली वेजेस पे फिक्स होता है, वीकली पे होता है, फोर्टनाइटली पे होता है, मैक्सिमम पीरियड मंथली है, तो ये तो फिक्स करना जरूरी है। इसको तो अवॉइड कर ही नहीं सकते। सो एन एम्प्लॉयर इज बाउंड टू फिक्स ए वेज पीरियड, चाहे वो 1 वीक का वेज पीरियड रखे या 1 दिन का रखे या 1 महीने का रखे। 2 महीने का नहीं रख सकता, 1.25 महीने का नहीं रख। एक तो बात की हो गई। अब जो वेजेस में मिनिमम वेज फॉर अनस्किल्ड वर्कर्स ओनली, दिस इज फिक्स्ड बाय द गवर्नमेंट and an employer is bound to pay the minimum wage which is given in the law for unskilled workers. अब आपने कहा कि अगर कोई पे नहीं कर रहा है तो क्या किया जाए, तो मेरा सवाल ये है कि अगर कोई ट्रैफिक लॉ को वायलेट कर रहा है तो क्या होना चाहिए?
बिल्कुल,
मतलब अगर कोई वायलेट कर रहा है तो वायलेट कर रहा है ना, तो उसकी कंप्लेन होनी चाहिए। उसकी आपका लीगल राइट है, आप उसको क्लेम करें। आप कंप्लेन करें, लेबर डिपार्टमेंट कंप्लेन करें, आप कोर्ट जाएं, आप एम्प्लॉयर के पास जाएं पहले। I mean, there are ways to get your rights.
Yeah, so the next question I have is, kindly answer my question. ये अब्दुल जब्बार साहब कह रहे हैं, is there any law whereas not number of workers are not mentioned in RFC room for secondary exit?
What is RFC?
RFC, now the question is not clear. I thought ये कोई ऐसा term है which I would say तो आपको समझ में आ जाएगा। एक दफ़ा फिर मैं बोल देती हूँ, अब्दुल जब्बार साहब इसको दोबारा लिखिएगा अगर आप सुन रहे हैं। Is there any law whereas not number of workers are not mentioned in RFC room for secondary exit?
ये
खैर,
आरिफ की
आ,
मेरे समझ में नहीं आया कि क्या चीज किस तरफ
जी
इशारा कर रहे हैं.
जी, ये दोबारा लिख दीजिएगा जब्बार साहब, अगर आप सुन रहे हैं. प्लीज एडवाइज आफ्टर हाउ मेनी लेटर्स कैन वी डिसमिस एनी वर्कर्स और अनऑथराइज्ड एब्सेंस ऑफ मोर देन 10 days if no response received from his side.
देखिए, disciplinary procedure has been defined in law. There is no question of how many times.
Hmm.
If you are charging a worker on the allegation of absence without leave for more than 10 days, and if he is absent for more than 10 days,
Okay.
one time absence for more than 10 days is enough for an action. अच्छा,
Yeah.
हैबिचुअल एब्सेंस में एक सवाल पैदा होता है कि हैबिचुअल एब्सेंस का अगर चार्ज लगाएं तो वो व्हाट विल कॉज ए हैबिचुअल एब्सेंस. तो कोर्ट्स का ये वर्डिक्ट है कि दी एब्सेंटिज्म मस्ट शो a perpetual habit on the part of the worker of remaining absent. Now, this is a very, very
जी जी.
complicated risk that an employee can take.
Hmm.
An employee was charge sheeted and dismissed for habitual absence for about 30 days in a year, intermittently, and the
Okay.
matter went to the court. And the High Court gave a judgment saying कि उसने plea ये लिया कि I am an employee with 15 years of service. I have never been absenting, but in that particular year, my father was suffering from paralysis. There was nobody in the family to look after. I had to take my father to the hospital every second or third day. So वहाँ unusually 35 days मैं absent हो गया in about 5 months, and my father died. So it was not because I was habitual, but because of circumstances, and court observed it was not an habitual absence. तो
Yeah.
ये circumstances पे depend करेगा.
जी सर, एक बहुत सवाल तो मेरे पास आते जा रहे हैं. आई थिंक हमें सेशन को वो करना पड़ेगा रोल अप. ये एक सवाल है कि रूल ऑफ ओवर टाइम पेमेंट ऑन गेजेटेड हॉलीडेज, व्हाट इज दैट?
There is no overtime payment requirement for gazetted holidays in law. The law says compensatory holiday has to be given. In case of festival holiday, if you ask a worker to work, you have to give him 2 compensatory holiday. One 3 days before or after the working holiday, and one as soon as possible. Now, overtime इसलिए देना पड़ता है कि the week in which the worker works, he is working for more than 48 hours. So overtime वो, because he is working in a particular week is more than 48 hours, he has to be paid overtime. It is not compensation for working on compensatory holiday. Compensatory holiday या festival holiday पे work करने का compensation है 2 days of holiday, one 3 days before and after the working festival holiday, and one as soon as possible.
जी सर, बहुत सारे सवाल हैं, मैं जल्दी जल्दी पूछती हूँ. आखिर के कुछ मिनट हैं. इफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन डिसमिस एनी एम्प्लॉय विद एनी वैलिड रीजन, इज द एम्प्लॉय एलिजिबल टू सबमिट केस इन कोर्ट अगेंस्ट द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन?
See, a worker can raise grievance against dismissal. This law is given to him under the Industrial Relations Act. He can raise the grievance, and an employer is bound to give the reply to the grievance within a defined time. And if the reply is not satisfactory, worker has the right to challenge the dismissal in a court of law.
Okay.
And the court is given the full right to go into the facts of the case and decide whether the dismissal was according to law or not.
Okay, sir. Another question: what is the working hours in offices per week, including lunch and prayers break, as per law?
Weekly
48
hours.
48 hours.
48 hours. 48 hours is weekly working hour, and by the break has to be given after every 5 hours of half an hour, and after 6 hours of 1 hour. including spread over and weekly holiday, it can be up to 60 hours in a week.
जी. Okay. Sir, अगला सवाल है minimum wages act for unskilled worker 1961 is 6,000. Are there any changes in this in these amounts?
Minimum wage
ये
law has
1961 का
changed.
है जो हमारा
देखिए, minimum wage law has been changed in each province, and the law has been modified, and the minimum wage board is fixing the minimum wage for each province almost every year or every second year with the help of the tripartite consultation. लेकिन मिनिमम वेज
अब्दुल साहब का भी यही सब
1961 में अभी 8,000 ही है, और unfortunately the UBI has to be paid on the basis of minimum wage as defined in the minimum wage act. इसलिए ये legal controversy चल रही है कि employers are paying at the rate of 8,000 and UBI is demanding at the rate of what the provincial governments are fixing.
Okay. So what is the difference between dismissal and termination?
A dismissal is termination for misconduct.
Okay.
If you terminate a worker for misconduct, it is dismissal. Hello.
Hello.
Ji.
Hello.
Did you get my reply?
No, but that is why I turned off my view, because मेरा इतना weak है यहाँ कि मैंने कहा आवाज पहुँचती रहे और मैं सवाल पढ़ती रहूँ. ये जिनका सवाल था, I hope they got it. I couldn't hear it.
जी. Dismissal is and termination for reasons of misconduct.
जी सर, 8:01 हो गए. मैं एडमिन से पूछूंगी कि should we continue because questions हमारे पास आते जा रहे हैं.
We have to wind up. If there is any question on diploma, we can.
I think we should wind up over here. And I'd like to request Fasi Saab कि वो
के बारे में ERO member.
Questions are continuously being asked by the participants. So I'd like to request Fasi Saab कि कोई last में participants को बताना चाहें कि वो उनकी ये जो सारे क्वेश्चंस हैं वो किस तरह इस डिप्लोमा में आकर जो अभी हमने करंटली अनाउंस किया हुआ है डिप्लोमा इन एम्प्लॉयमेंट लॉज एंड इंडस्ट्रियल रिलेशन, जो हम एम्प्लॉयर्स फेडरेशन ऑफ पाकिस्तान की कोलैबोरेशन के साथ ऑफर कर रहे हैं IBA में, जो कि ऑनलाइन भी है, उसकी क्लासेस ऑनलाइन भी होंगी. तो कराची से बाहर अगर कोई हमें ज्वाइन करना चाहता है उस डिप्लोमा में तो वो पार्टिसिपेंट्स भी हमें ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं. और इसके साथ साथ कराची में ऑन कैंपस भी इसकी क्लासेस हो रही होंगी विद मेंटेनिंग सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग, जो कोविड-19 की वजह से मैंडेटरी है. तो मैं फसी साहब को रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहूँगा कि वो पार्टिसिपेंट से कहें कि वो इस डिप्लोमा में आए. और
रहमान, आई विल ऐड कि 6 महीने के डिप्लोमा प्रोग्राम है. मैं ये कह रहा था कि 6 महीने के डिप्लोमा प्रोग्राम में कोई सवाल ऐसा नहीं होगा जो आंसर नहीं होगा.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
All the questions answered.
जी, excellent sir.
Or the very fact that there are so many questions indicates the need for a program like this.
True.
देखो ना, अभी 1 घंटे के सवाल के सेशन में everybody has to get answers to so many questions. And that is why we say there is a need of a program like this, which we have introduced in IBA.
True. So with that, I'd like to
grateful to IBA for that.
Ji, on behalf of Center for Executive Education IBA, I'd like to thank Ms. Aisha Bela Malik and Sir Fasi Ul Kareem Siddiqui
honored
for joining us in this seminar and facilitating. As well as I'd like to thank the participants and Nazar Saab also, who has probably left us due to probably the weak connection. And I'd like to thank the participants who joined us for this seminar.
What is the deadline for Rahman?
Sir, it's October 1st.
What is the deadline for admission?
The classes
1st
are
of
starting.
October.
Yes, and the classes are starting from October 10th.
So can we extend it by up to 5th October? Monday.
Yes, we can do that.
Perfect.
We can do that. Because we are already receiving a lot of requests to extend the deadline.
I think better so that they can
Yes.
get a chance to. Yeah. So I
Yes.
think we can extend it up to Monday, 5th or 6th of October.
Perfect,
Yes,
sir.
we
Perfect.
can see that. We can see that we will announce the new deadlines tomorrow, inshallah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
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 Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I
Thank
can
you,
see the
everyone.
interest.
Thank you, Aisha, for
Thank you.
conducting the
Gee, I
program
would also
very
be.
professionally, mashallah.
Thank you, sir. Jazakallah.
You.
I
Allah
tried,
Hafiz.
and I would also be a faculty here. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Sure, sure.
चले
Allah.
अस्सलाम
Thank you. Allah
वालेकुम क्या
Hafiz.
मिला आज आपके